It's time for the Daily Stand-Up Podcast presented by AgileDad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. I thought it would be fun for this Agile, Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand-Up Podcast to talk a little bit about some psychology facts and human behavior and some things that you may or may not be aware of. Since my background is in psychology, I feel like this is a good opportunity for me to share some of the learnings that I have, and I'm going to try to remember as many as I can, and give you some things that may help you both in your personal and professional worlds. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that's referred to as attention economy or attention span. Most digital products are designed to capture and hold our attention, often at the expense of our time and focus. This is sometimes referred to as attention economy. Features such as infinite scrolling, push notifications, and autoplay keep users engaged for longer than they initially intended. So if you're ever on TikTok and you're just scrolling through, or on Insta and you're just doing death scrolls, what I call it, where you're just going thumb, 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 you may be a victim of attention economy. What's most interesting is, as we did research regarding this, I got together with my social media team. And as we did research on this, we discovered that shorts and things that are within the first 6 seconds, 3 to 6 seconds of what you do, if you can hold someone's attention for 2.5 to 3 seconds, you're doing really good, which is interesting because, in the past, that number was much higher. So I think that as the world changes, we got that infinite scrolling and we've got all these things happening. It's changing our behavior, especially for a younger generation. All right, let's talk about another topic. This is going to be interesting. How about paradox of choice? So digital marketplaces and streaming services offer an unprecedented array of all types of choices of things you can do, right? While this might seem beneficial at first, it can also lead to a paradox of choice, where the abundance of options leads to something that we refer to as decision fatigue, dissatisfaction, and regret. So it's almost like when you have too many choices, you can overwhelm someone. The example I like to give here is one that is a success story. I like to use In-N-Out as my example here, or even Five Guys, where the menu is just so small and so basic that it's easy for you to make a choice about what you want. But if you walked into a place where the menu is 173 items, the one place that blows me away all the time is Cheesecake Factory. If you've ever been to Cheesecake Factory, if you know, you know. They bring you a binder, and it's got so much information, and it makes it almost impossible for you to choose. Sometimes less is more, right? Okay, let's talk about the next one of my favorites. This one's called echo chambers. So many people who produce digital products and many digital products on the market today use algorithms to personalize the content you see, kind of like a genome based on your past behavior. While this can make information consumption a lot more efficient, it can also create an echo chamber where you're exposed only to viewpoints or information that reinforce what you already know or believe. So this can limit your critical thinking skills and exposure to diverse perspectives, potentially polarizing what you know in your opinion. What's really interesting about this is, especially as politics begins to really dig into social media, we're starting to see this more and more and more. And instead of expanding and broadening our horizon and our focus, we find that sometimes we're getting served the same thing. Let this be a lesson to those running for president of the United States that if the person's not already supporting you, they're very likely not going to get your ads. So just food for thought, right? Food for thought. Okay. The next one I want to talk about just for a moment is information overload. So the vast amount of information we have available at our fingertips can lead to something we refer to as information overload. That makes it difficult to filter, prioritize, and remember information. This impacts the user's ability to make decisions and can increase stress levels. I can tell you right now, the more information you throw at someone, the more stress they're going to get. One of the comments that I got for some of the classes that I teach is that it's a lot of information, but it doesn't feel like you're being sprayed with a fire hose. And that's a good thing, because you want to get that balance where it's just the right amount of information, but not cognitive information overload. Okay. All right. This next one is also interesting. It's called dopamine feedback loops. So social media platforms, video games, and even email notifications can create dopamine-driven feedback loops. When users receive likes, comments, any form of positive reinforcement through these platforms, I think about TikTok, where everyone gives roses and little gifts, right? It triggers a release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure. This can lead to users repeatedly checking these platforms just to see if they got any likes or whatnot to experience that pleasurable feeling again, potentially leading to an addictive behavior. So there's a lot of people who are saying that social media has become addictive. There's even some lawsuits from some of the states against social media companies. And this would be exactly why. It's that social media is addictive, can be addictive, and has been proven to, really just blast dopamine through our systems. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one is social comparison and identity. Social media platforms often exacerbate feelings of inadequacy and envy through constant exposure to curated portrayals of others' lives. So this phenomenon, known as social comparison, can lead to decreased self-esteem, increased feelings of loneliness and anxiety. Online platforms often allow for the creation of a virtual persona, which can differ significantly from the individual's offline identity. This can have complex effects on your self-perception and identity. As the boundaries between online and offline, as the boundary between what we see offline and who we are offline and who we are online tends to blur, we often are challenged because we want to be what we're not, but we're not what we want to be. So while offering opportunities for exploration and expression, which is cool, it can also lead to conflict and confusion about who you are and what your identity is. And many may argue that today this is prominent. It's something that's all over the place. People don't know who they are or what they stand for anymore, which is really, really interesting. The next one I call the Google effect. This is just how easy it is to access information online. And that's going to affect your memory and your navigation skills. I remember when I was younger that I used to brag that you could drop me in just about any city, any major U.S. city, and I could find my way around and I knew where I was going. I was traveling so much for work that, I knew where things were, and I had a rental car and I had to remember where things were. I mean, yes, I had a GPS at some point, but it was one of those things where, Garmin could get me there if I couldn't, but 90% of the time I knew exactly where I was going. This also refers to song lyrics and other things, just things that you know. But now, with the advent of Google and Google-like, you have all of the GPTs and other things. It makes it so much easier for you to rely on outside things. And I think the proof here was kind of funny. I had a student in my class, and I asked for their telephone number so I could call. And they had to put a keypad on the screen. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I don't have my telephone number memorized. I just know the pattern and I push the buttons." And I thought that was so interesting to me that people don't even think about numbers and things anymore. They think more about patterns. And it's just interesting to me to see with this Google effect or digital effect, digital amnesia has on our brains, right? It's just really, really interesting. Okay, let's go to the next one. The next one's called digital empathy and connection. While digital communication platforms have enabled new forms of social interaction and connection, they can also impact the quality of your interactions. The lack of nonverbal cues, especially in text-based communication, can lead to misunderstandings and a reduction in empathy. I know this one's true because I can't tell you how many times I've seen something where someone's typed something and my answer is, I don't care. Where if somebody might have said that very same thing to me and I could get the social cue, I may care. But it's just so interesting to see that even if you're aware of this, you can still get caught by it. So it's important for us to not lean behind our keyboards or lean behind our screen and to put ourselves out there and get to know the people that we work with. I think you'll get favorable results, and it'll be a lot better than what you're doing now. Okay, let's talk about online disinhibition. Now, you may not have ever heard that word before, but it's about anonymity. So anonymity and physical distance provided by digital interactions can lead to what we refer to as online disinhibition effect, where individuals feel more free to express themselves in ways they may not say in face-to-face settings. Now, this can manifest in positive ways and negative ways. So the positive ways is an increase in openness and self-disclosure, but some negative ways like cyberbullying or aggressive behaviors are definitely there as well. So we need to be careful how we're doing that. And then finally, I picked one more, FOMO, the fear of missing out. So while Mark Zuckerberg was kind of coined for making that term famous, when you start thinking about digital platforms, especially social media, it can exacerbate the feelings of missing out. The ideas that others might be having more rewarding experiences or having more fun than you are can lead to constant checking into social media platform and can negatively impact your mental health as well as as well as by promoting it could affect you by promoting feelings of inferiority and dissatisfaction if you're not exactly where you think you need to be with regard to that subject. So that's going to do it. I hope that was helpful. I tried to identify 10 things. I thought that with these, at least you could get the tip of the iceberg. And if you want to learn more about this, of course, you can reach out to us at learnmore@agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.